I am thankful to have connected with you on this podcast. I want to ask you a favor. Please do subscribe, and by doing that, you help us to bring on many wonderful guests that we can all learn from, grow, and make an impact. Thank you so much for joining Immigrants Making an Impact, the podcast. Today, we are excited to have David Gorey all the way from San Diego, California, to have a conversation with us. David, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So I'm David Gorey. I spent the first 16 years of my life in Nigeria, and then I came to the US for college. I went to Cleveland State University, where I got my undergrad degree in mechanical engineering, first master's, an MBA, and then I got a job out in Portland, Oregon. So moved out to Portland, worked as an IoT sales engineer for a while, got another master's in cybersecurity, and then we struck gold when we got into Techstars. So got into Techstars, moved to San Diego, started Airbud, and got to where I am today.
Okay, that's a great start. We want to know more. You spent the first 16 years of your life in Nigeria. So you got to the US because your parents live there. How did you get to the US?
So this is actually a very funny story. So when I was in secondary school, I wanted to be an actor. And I told my mom, she was like, "What do you want to study?" I said, I wanted to be an actor. And she said, "I wanted to study acting." And she said, "No, you are very stupid. If you want to study acting, you are going to school here in Nigeria. If you want to go abroad, you have to study either medicine or engineering." So those are the two options she gave me. And she really wanted a doctor, so I chose engineering. So I switched my major, started, doing science, and I had a cousin who worked at Cleveland Clinic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents were like, "Okay, you're studying engineering, you applied to the school, you got in, now go." So they sent me over here by myself for college.
At the age of 16, you could start college already?
Yes, I graduated pretty early.
Oh, that affirmed that your parents knew that you were really brilliant. So, of course, from African parents or many immigrant parents, the sky is the limit. You tell us, when you got to the US, what were some of the challenges as a newcomer? What are some of the challenges that you faced, and how were you able to overcome them?
I would say the biggest challenge that I faced was more about the cultural change. And it wasn't that big of a problem for anybody else, but it just hit me differently. I went to because I grew up watching a lot of, American shows. I was a Disney kid. So the understanding, the accent wasn't an issue for me. Speaking to them wasn't an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
But cultural change to the point where you can just, talk to your professor like they're your friend and not, your teacher. Like the lack of reverence, was there. It just, struck me by surprise. And I keep telling people this story because it's one of the funniest, most annoying things that happened to me when I first came. So in my first semester in Cleveland State University, we had this exam that was a take-home exam. That made no sense to me. So I was sitting down with my friends and they were like, "This is a take-home exam." I was like, "No, it's optional. Like, why would your teacher give you an exam to take home? She knows everyone's going to cheat and get 100. That makes no sense to me." I was like, "It's definitely optional." So I actually convinced them not to take it. So we got back to class on Monday and she was like, "Okay, the following students didn't take the exam. Why?" And I stood up and I was like, "Exam? I thought it was optional." And she was like, No, it was not." So I tried to explain. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm from Nigeria. We don't do this there. Like, take-home exam is just something that's new. Could you please open it up for, I just need an hour, and we would get it done." She said no. So just like that, we missed out on 20% of the final grade. And I ended up finishing the class with a B. That was the biggest cultural change to me because that affected my GPA and upset me. So
Wow. So how were you able to navigate that cultural change? If somebody is listening and he or she is new in a country and maybe started college and want to do better, what advice would you give to that person?
the one advice I can give that works is ask questions. I think that's the biggest thing. No assumptions. Always ask. If you have 1,001 questions, ask all of them. I had to tap into that, and that saw me through the rest of college, and honestly to where I am today. I always ask questions.
Well said. Always ask questions. Very, very important. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So, David, let's pause and reflect. How has the immigrant journey been so far? Has it been worth it? Have you had regrets? Tell us about that.
I would say it's been worth it. Have I had regrets? Not really. I kind of accept everything that comes my way. It's all God's plan at the end of the day. So I try to live a life without regret because I feel like the second you start regretting, it just spirals downhill from there. Has it been hard? Yes, it has. I've been in the US for over 10 years now. I haven't seen my parents for 7. I'm still working on getting my green card so I can travel back to Nigeria. So there are some difficulties that come with, the journey. It's definitely been lonely to an extent, but no regrets so far. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't come to the US. I wouldn't have started this company, and I wouldn't be doing, the good that I wake up every morning happy to do with Airbnb.
Great. I have a question. So, what do you do when the journey gets so tough that you want to throw in the towel? What makes you say, okay, I am not going to stop, I'm going to keep going?
One thing really, I go by this other saying that, it's like I can do anything for a finite amount of time. It's just a drop of water in the mighty ocean of my life. I think about it that way, and it just gives me the necessary tools to persevere. I went to boarding school at the age of 10. I was sent to an all-boys school, in Nigeria. It was an all-boys Catholic school, so and did that for 6 years. And my whole thing is if I can endure that for 6 years, I can endure anything. So that's what I just fall back to. So when it gets hard, I just think about what I have endured, the fact that people are literally wishing to be in my position. So who am I to complain when I've been blessed? So with that knowledge, I just fight through and pray for the best and work hard. America is a land of opportunity. You get what you work for. So that has really influenced the positive outcomes in my journey so far.
Excellent. So let's dive into entrepreneurship. For me, I have had an encounter with many immigrant entrepreneurs, and I've come to learn and understand that immigrants have that drive to start their own businesses.
Yeah.
In your opinion, why do you think many immigrants pursue entrepreneurship?
I believe it's more about, honestly, the financial freedom.
Mhm.
And like you said, I feel like immigrants are just born entrepreneurs where they have this drive to want the best. Most of my friends who are immigrants, who are working, your typical 9 to 5, are still starting, some kind of business on the side or
Mm.
doing something on the side. I think it's just embedded in us
Mhm.
that if you aren't working, you're dying. So you get out of your 9 to 5 and you want to do another 5 to 10 so that you can have more money to we don't want to be mediocre. I think that's the best way to phrase it, and just
Mhm.
strive for the best. And I love that about us.
Amazing. We are not mediocre. We strive for the best.
Yes.
So, what motivated you to start your own business and become an entrepreneur, especially as an immigrant?
So for me, it was a couple of reasons. It actually transcends, being an immigrant. The story of Air Beauty is very unique. I was getting my undergrad at Cleveland State University. I met this guy from India named Himanshu who was getting his master's in mechanical engineering as well. So we're taking the same class, and from day one, we just became friends. Like we're making, being jesters at the back of class. And just kept on hanging out ever since. Fast forward 2 years later, I was getting my MBA. At this time, he was working in Portland, Oregon. And I reached out to him just to, check in and say hi to my friend. And he was like, hey, so we started this company. I started this company with this guy I met on LinkedIn named John Booker.
Mhm.
And the company is about decentralized carbon sequestration. And I was like, that's very interesting. Tell me more. So he gave me, the mission and the product they were trying to design. And I was like, okay, I'm hooked. Can I talk to? So he put me on with John. I talked to John and just loved every second about the conversation, joined the team, and we just kept on going from there. So for me, it was more about opportunity, meeting availability and, readiness. At the same time, I was also thinking of starting a couple of other startups, when this fell into my lap. So
Hmm.
I I can't really say what drove me into it, but I feel like there were, a lot of factors from financial factor,
Hmm.
the freedom to do what I want to do and shape my own future. And then the immigration part of it too, because at that time I was a student on an F1 visa, and I believed that there was a way to make a positive impact at the same time, fully fledged my stay in the US. So I was working all the angles at once.
It's a way to make a positive impact, and that is why our community is here. As immigrants, we always strive to make a positive impact. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the challenges that you have faced while starting and growing your business in a new country, and how have you been able to overcome them?
One of the challenges I've faced is it's really all about, and not to get racial here, but there's that bias that exists. I was told by a friend to hire someone American, someone white, and make them, the CEO so that the company could grow and succeed.
Wow.
And a friend told me this, and I laughed at it because in every nonsense there's an atom of sense.
Mm,
So I laughed at it, and I knew that what he was trying to say is that the road is going to be hard.
mhm.
Are you ready for this? And my answer was, I'm not going to do that because I feel like I know the direction I want this company to go in. And I don't think you can just bring someone outside to take the glory, be the face, and grow it the way I can. But I understand you're trying to tell me that the road is going to be hard, and trust me, I'm ready. So that was my answer to him, and we're still very close friends still today. But that's just one of the difficulties that I've had. That's just one of the events where it was actually said to my face. So who knows what's said outside, right? But that's one of the difficulties that I've had in terms of navigating all that, and overcoming it is really just about perseverance and knowing my worth, knowing where I want this company to go, and just steering the ship in that direction.
Cool. Could you share with us a pivotal moment or decision that significantly impacted the success of your company?
Yes. So actually, the most recent one, we've had so many pivotal moments. We've been on this journey for about 2 years,
Mhm.
and up until 6 months ago, well, about 7 months ago now, that's when we got into Techstars. So I believe getting into Techstars and me quitting my job, my other co-founder John quitting his job to go full time on this was a huge pivotal moment for us. For
Mm,
me, one, because my immigration was in jeopardy. The company I was working for had plans to sponsor me for a work visa, but
mhm.
quitting would mean leaving that on the table and walking away and trying to figure out my own immigration journey
Mm.
outside that corporate sponsorship. I would say the most important pivotal shift that we've had was when we brought on our chief science and technology officer, Richard Marita. He has been a breath of fresh air to the company. He's from Kenya. I believe we should get him on this podcast as well. He has a fascinating story to tell.
Oh, I would love that.
I would definitely recommend him after this call. So I believe that was, the pivotal moment that actually shaped us and prepared us for success. We were on this journey for about 18 months, testing different ideas in the lab, failing, going back to the drawing board and testing again. And about 17 months into the journey, we decided we're going to go with algae as our weapon of choice. None of us are biologists. I'm a mechanical engineer. John is a business sustainability major. Himanshu is a mechanical engineer. So we don't know biology. So
Mhm.
we had to bring in a biologist on the team to work with us and educate us on it and also spearhead the biological operations. So we struck gold when we met Richard, brought him on the team, and his impact was felt from day one because we just started aggressively accelerating. 6 months post him coming in, we already had a minimum viable product that was tested in the lab and worked. We applied to Techstars. We got into the accelerator program. Now we have committed customers. We're fundraising and we're just growing and scaling as we go.
Wow. So that will say that it is very important to build a solid team behind your company.
Yes, 100%.
But how are you able to find, for example, many immigrants mention that it's very difficult to find a co-founder and even to build a solid team, an efficient team. What are some tips you can share with us?
I would say you can't, pardon my French, but you can't bullshit passion. And I think the most important thing you can find in someone you want to, it's technically a marriage at the end of the day. I talk to my co-founders more than I talk to my more than I talk to my parents and my partners, but it's the most important thing you can find in someone that you want to marry is passion, because
Mhm,
it will take you places. There will be conflicts, but as far as both sides understand that it's because of passion, then everything can be swept under the rug at the end of the day and completely let go. So John has this innate ability to surround himself with great people. And this is not me, tooting my own horn because I surrounded myself with him.
mm,
But it's the innate ability to find, team members for the company that are just the absolute best. Out of about 600 people that applied when we posted the job on LinkedIn, John's position was to sort it down to about 5 to 10 and present the rest of us with those 10. Let's talk to him.
mm.
And he did that. And Richard was number one across the board on all his, mock lists. And when we eventually met him, we all decided that's who we want to be connected with. So I think it's more about casting a wide net and
Mhm.
just the ability to sense the passion and the drive behind the people you surround yourself with, especially at the early stage of a company, because that's when it's most important.
Yes, those are great tips. Thank you for sharing them. Let's talk about failure. What role did failure play in your journey, and how did you navigate that?
I mean, failure is pivotal to success. It's very necessary. I always tell myself and my team that failure is fine. Like failure is not an issue at all. We all fail at some point.
Mm,
But if you fail for anything other than lack of effort, it's forgivable and it's perfectly understandable. But the second you fail for lack of effort, that's when you've truly failed. So for us as a team, we like to say we've never failed. But in the dictionary definition of failure, we failed a lot. Like I said, for the first 18 months, we were testing different hypotheses in the lab, failing aggressively, and going back to the drawing board. It took 17 months. And the ability to not give up, to keep going,
mm,
was really the driving force behind our success, because now we got to the product that we have today, which our customers are anxiously waiting for. So I believe failure is necessary. Failure is great. Like I tell, we're going through lab validation right now. And every time I'm on the phone with the lab techs, I always tell them, break it. I want to see this fail, like destroy it, because if they do, we get to go back up, fine tune it, build it even stronger than it was, and test it again. And that's what we want to give to our customers, the fully tested product that is 98% guaranteed not to fail. I'm keeping out 2% for engineering error.
wow. That will take me to Airbuild Inc. Tell us about Airbuild Inc. and what you stand for, what you do, and the company in general.
Of course, it's one of my favorite topics. So, Airbnb is integrating nature to decarbonize real estate with a carbon negative solution. The state of the climate right now is dire. We need immediate actions to reverse the planet's temperature to pre-industrial level. And when you look into how we got here, it's all about industrialization. And we're trying to tackle this from one perspective. There are a lot of other companies tackling it from 1,000 other perspectives. And we love working with them. We love talking to them. We love cheering them on because we're all allies in this battle. And our perspective is, if you go back to the Stone Age, the planet was colder. And the idea behind it was humans emit carbon. We breathe out carbon. The trees, the ocean, the rocks work with us to sequester that carbon. The trees and photosynthetic organisms turn the carbon into oxygen, which keeps the planet at a steady temperature. When industrialization happened, which is great because then if there was no industrialization, we wouldn't be able to have this call right now.
Mhm.
We deforested the land to build our much needed infrastructure, thereby taking away one of the strongest mechanisms that was balancing the planet. So it's all about plus minus. So when we took that away and started emitting more carbon and taking away the solutions that sequestered that carbon, that led to an imbalance and the planet started getting hotter. You can see it in the floods in California, the stories in the UK. Even my parents in Nigeria calling me and telling me, General, it's very, very hot. I don't like this. That's something that, we hear because it's something that we are directly feeling. So Airbuild's vision is to integrate nature back into this built environment, to make our cities carbon negative to the point where they are working with us, our infrastructure working with us, our buildings, not just the roofs, where we have solar panels, but the facades of the buildings, our parking structures, our parks are working with us to sequester carbon and make our cities carbon negative to the point where in the not so distant future, we could restore this planet to the balance that's needed for sustained growth and availability of the planet for future generations.
Wow. I think that you guys are doing a phenomenal job, phenomenal work, very, very positively impacting the world. So keep going. We are cheering you on. And then we know that with hard work, you guys are going to succeed.
Thank you. Thank you. We believe that too. And I mean, we're in the land to do it. And we're just trying to take advantage of every opportunity that gets presented to us, and aggressively get this solution created so we can scale it globally, because there are countries that need this solution more than others. When you start going into decentralized water filtration, it becomes, a whole nother ball game. In Nigeria, we had to drink water out of wells. Like I had to drink water out of wells because the natural water solutions were polluted. My co-founder Richard lost his mother and his sister to waterborne diseases because the natural water sources were polluted. So once you start going into the deep impact of the product, we start talking about, scaling it worldwide so we can improve the quality of lives for everyone, especially, case in point, those back home, and at the same time, improve the living situations as well.
Amazing. So if anyone is listening and would love to connect with you on this journey, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn name is my full name, David Onajite Gori Jr. They can find me on email, david@airbuildinc.com. Or they can just go to our website and hit the contact us. All those emails come directly to me.
Great. So David, I have a few questions for you. What is the most important thing you would do today to make tomorrow better?
Work hard, definitely work hard, and just, stay on track, keep pushing. It's not an easy road. Anyone who said it's an easy road is lying. But the perseverance, and it's a survivor of the fittest race. So we just have to keep pushing. So for me, I wake up every morning excited to keep pushing, move the needle a little bit, go back to sleep, wake up the next morning and do it again.
Wonderful. What advice would you give to immigrants?
One is you're not alone. Build a community around you. The community that I've built, for myself so far has helped me immensely. My closest friends, Pete Fernandez, from India, Israel, Oluwasami from Nigeria are my two biggest cheerleaders. And I talk to them a lot less now because they are my co-founders, which is their fault. But we talk to each other a lot, and we, push each other through the difficult times. And I think it's all about building that community, finding your community, and just, honing in, being a part of it, and just growing it as much as you can.
Well said. What book are you reading at the moment?
The book that I'm reading at the moment is actually a case study of algae in the built environments that was made of a cell park study that was done in 2013 in Hamburg, Germany. I'm not really reading any fascinating books. The last book I read was a Techstars book about entrepreneurship. Right now I'm just reading case studies because we're going through our fundraising process. So I'm talking to more technical investors and people. So I'm trying to be knowledgeable on the biology so I can have that conversation with them while Richard just, works in the lab and doesn't want to talk to me.
Okay, great. So it means case studies are a great way to learn for entrepreneurs.
Oh, yes, definitely, especially those who are in the science field. I mean, nothing is new under the sun. So researchers have done, a huge chunk of the work. We just have to make it make sense, understand it, reiterate it, and align it to the vision that you have for your scientific project and or company.
Cool. So it's time to invite our community to support you. Are there any projects you are doing that you want us to know about?
Not yet, but we do have something in the works. We're going stealth mode on it right now, so can't really speak on it. But in due time, I would definitely call on the community to support and join us on this journey. If you are job hunting, if you are an investor, if you are just looking to get an Airbnb shirt and tout the story of, carbon negative cities that are coming to a city near you, jump on our website, interact with us, and we'll definitely find a way to collaborate.
Okie dokie. So, David, what does it take to be an immigrant?
The simple answer is traveling from one place to another place and making that place home. But I would say it's the drive. I think the one thing I've seen, most consistently, and not only in immigrants, I would say, is the drive. So for immigrants, I would say what it means to be an immigrant is more about accepting change, regardless of your condition, and just the drive.
Cool. And what does it take to be an immigrant entrepreneur?
More of what it takes to be an immigrant, accepting change, regardless of your situation. I mean, that's the story of my life. You wake up thinking you're gonna do something, and things change. You have to pivot and go do that instead. As an early stage founder, you're working on 1,000 things at once. You can't drop the ball. You just, have to accept change when it comes, and the drive to keep pushing.
Excellent. So finally, David, please complete the sentence for us. Immigrants are
the absolute best.
Yes. Thank you so much, David, for gracing this platform. We love that you came, and there's a lot we can learn from you. And always remember that the community is cheering you on. Keep going and make us proud.
I appreciate the kind words, ma'am. Thank you very much.